الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome brothers and sisters to the beginning of our new Tafseer class. Inshallah we'll be going through the Tafseer of Sorah Al-Qasass. Alhamdulillah, in the past we've gone through many different surahs, and today inshallah we'll go through this particular surah. Now Surah Al-Qasass, before we delve into this surah and the story itself, it is a Meccan surah revealed to the Prophet ﷺ during his time in Mecca before he made a hijrah to Medina. And this surah is considered to be a fairly long surah, especially if you compare it to some of the surahs that will come after it. The Meccan surahs are fairly different from the Madani surahs in the Quran. One particular way that the Meccan surahs are different is in the topics that are discussed. You will find that in the Meccan stories or the Meccan surahs, you will find the stories of the people before us, the story of the prophets. So if you find any chapter in the Quran, as a general rule, if you find a chapter in the Quran that is has a lot of stories, chances are that this chapter is a Meccan chapter. Another thing that is unique about this surah is the extensiveness that it talks about the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. This is one of the few surahs that really go into detail about the life of Musa alayhi salam. A point that many people don't realize, even Muslims, is that the one person that is mentioned the most in the Quran, the one person that is mentioned the most in the Quran by name is not Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, but it is Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And you will find the mention of Musa alayhi salam in many places, in many different surahs, chapters, verses throughout the Quran. However, you will find very few surahs that actually go into detail about the life of Musa alayhi salam. Surah Al-Qasass is one, another one is Surah Taha, as well as some of the other surahs, the longer surahs such as Surah Al-Baqarah. He talks about particular cases in the life of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. And whenever you mention Prophet Musa alayhi salam, you have to mention the Banu Israel, the children of Israel. And we'll inshallah explain it very briefly in this class. When we hear this term as Muslims, Banu Israel, it literally translates to the children of Israel, the children of Israel, in the same way that if you would say Banu Adam, the children of Adam alayhi salam, this is in a similar way. So the question will be, who is Israel? Is Israel a man? Who is he? And so on. And the answer to that is that Israel is a second name for a very well-known individual. And that individual is Prophet Ya'qub alayhi salam. That Ya'qub alayhi salam used to be known with the name Israel, which in the Hebrew tongue means Abdullah, which means Abdullah. So Israel, the meaning of it is the servant of Allah, the slave of Allah. And this is actually a name that has been referenced in the Quran directly. So this is whenever we speak about Banu Israel, it refers back to Ya'qub, the Asbab, his children, Yusuf alayhi salam, and so on. These are the Banu Israel as we know them. Another point to highlight here is the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ يَقُصُّ عَلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ أَكْثَرَ الَّذِي هُمْ فِيهِ يَخْتَلِفُونَ. Meaning that this Quran makes it clear and tells us the story, the account, the true account regarding matters that the Banu Israel themselves are in disagreement about. So one of the many beautiful things about Islam and the Quran in particular is that this Quran actually addresses the same stories that you find in the Torah, the same stories that you will find in the Injil, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets the record straight. So this is the backstory, if you like, regarding Musa alayhi salam and the Israel. And as we go through this chapter, this surah, we will find more information. And this surah is beautiful in the sense that it really goes into detail. It goes into detail, and the more detail that is provided, the more benefit we can derive from that. So the surah starts in a very similar way to Surah Yusuf, the chapter that we went through not too long ago in Ramadan. It starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which is not a unique thing, but you'll find this in every single chapter, except the chapter of Tawbah. Surah Tawbah does not start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And we explained that when you are invoking the name of Allah, it is done before an action. So you will find mentions in the Quran, for example in Surah Hud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks about Nuh, He is instructed, Bismillah majreha wa mursaha, to remember the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to start the act of embarking on the ark that they built with Bismillah. So Bismillah is the practice of the prophets. It is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will find this being mentioned many times throughout the Quran. Every single chapter starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And also the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he used to send letters, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could not read or write. He was ummi, he was illiterate. So people, the companions used to write on behalf of the Prophet ﷺ. He used to dictate it for them. And when the Prophet ﷺ, every time he would instruct a message to be written down, a letter to be sent, he would always start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So this is a very good practice, and one thing that gives us hope as Muslims, as human beings, is that out of all the names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have referred to Himself by, He chose Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Allah Azza wa Jal could have started with Bismillah and mentioned any of His other asma, but Allah Azza wa Jal chose two names, both touching on Rahmah. And then the first verse is Ta Sin Mim. These letters, just like Alif Lam Ra, they are in Arabic known as Huruf al-Muqatta'a, the disjointed letters, which basically are letters that have been revealed to the Prophet ﷺ, and it is as if in any other language you take random letters and put them together that do not make up a word. And in terms of meaning, we say Allah Azza wa Jal knows best, Allahu A'lam, when it comes to the meaning of these. And we do not say that they do not mean anything. This is a common mistake that some people make. They say Alif Lam Mim and Ta Sin Mim, do not mean anything. But the right response is to say, Allah Azza wa Jal knows best what it means. Because as Muslims we believe that every single aspect of the Quran has meaning. Allah Azza wa Jal speaks with purpose, and Allah Azza wa Jal does not speak in a way that has no purpose or benefit to it. So we keep it safe in the same way that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, when they would hear these verses, they heard the same Quran that we are hearing today, yet no one amongst them spoke about it, and everyone kept their tongues, and they did not say this is the meaning, and they accepted it as such. And then after that, actually another point to mention is by these huruf al-muqatta'a, these disjointed letters, there is a mu'jiza, there is a miracle in it. You have the Quran being revealed to the Arabs. And the Arabs, one of the things that they felt the most pride or boastful in was their language, and they used to hold competitions. And the best poets used to be given the privilege of putting their poetry, the shi'r, next or on the Kaaba itself. This was something, a sense of pride for the Arabs. And yet here you have the Quran challenging the Arabs, showing them that these are the same letters that you use in your own language. Use the same letters and produce something similar to the Quran. Produce something similar to the Quran. And they were never able to, and they will never be able to. There is the story of Musaylama al-Kadhdhab, when he said, I have received Quran, and when he read his supposed Quran to one of his followers, he said, Al-filu, mal-filu, wa ma adraka mal-filu, and he came up with some gibberish. And the person who was standing there with him, he looked at Musaylama and he said, Wallahi, you know, and I know that you are a kadhab, you are a liar. But, he said, a liar from our tribe is more beloved to us than a prophet from Quraysh. A liar from our tribe is more beloved to us than a truthful prophet from Quraysh. And this shows how misguided their perception was. And then you see the following verse after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Tilka ayatul kitab al-mubin. The word that is used is tilka. Tilka in Arabic, it shows something that is of a distance, something that is far away. You say tilka, and the ayat that are mentioned here, the scholars, they say it could be two interpretations. Ayah could be a verse in the Quran, and it could also be an ayah, a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows. In this case, it is in reference to the verses in the Quran, and the way that we know it is the fact that Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Tilka ayatul kitab, the verses of the book, meaning the verses of the Quran, al-mubin, they are clear. And the scholars, they say this clearness, the bayan of the Quran is twofold. The Quran is clear within itself. The Quran is clear within itself. There's no i'wijaj, there's no crookedness in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla explains it himself in the Quran, saying, لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه, that falsehood cannot approach the Quran, not from the sides and not from behind. Why? تنزيل من حكيم حميد. It is being revealed by one that has the wisdom and the one that deserves praise, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first way that the Quran is clear is that it is clear within itself. There is no contradictions in the Quran, walillahi alhamd. And the other part of the clearness is that the Quran makes other things clear. Quran makes other things clear. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the Quran by saying Tibyanan likulli shay. Tibyanan likulli shay. That the Quran is something that makes everything else clear in the light of the Quran. So the Quran shows us how to live our life. The Quran teaches us how to be good Muslims. The Quran teaches us so many things, and it makes our life very clear. And then after that very short introduction, by verse number 3, you have the beginning of this surah, the beginning of this story, the story of Musa alayhi salam. And instead of jumping right into it, I will highlight just one overall theme or connection that makes this surah very beautiful. And sometimes when we read it, we do not actually pick up on it. And the thing that I'm referring to is, this surah starts with the birth of Musa alayhi salam. And it tells us in detail about how the mother of Musa made dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa alayhi salam through the dua of his mother. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised the mother of Musa, He told her, do not be afraid and do not be sad. لا تخافي ولا تحزني. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her a promise, said to her, we will return this child to you, and we will find out that this indeed happened. Towards the end of the surah, the very last few verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reassures the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, saying, إِنَّ الَّذِي فَرَضَ عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لَرَادُّكَ إِلَى مَعَادٍ. That the one that had made the Quran, revealed the Quran, made it mandatory upon the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the same Allah, the same Lord that will bring you back to your place. What is this in reference to? It refers to the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, now at that time he is in Mecca, but he will be kicked out of Mecca, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reassuring the Prophet ﷺ that he will come back. So a central theme throughout this story that we will find out again and again is al-thiqa billah, meaning to have full and complete trust and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the reassurance that you will find again and again. And inshallah we will highlight it as we move throughout this surah. So just to recap, today was more of an introduction, and we dealt with just a few verses, about 2 verses, or 3 if you include Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And then inshallah we will continue and we will take our time going through this surah. And inshallah we will stop here for today's class.